A deal with the wind. The wind had always been a mystery in the village of Liran. It wasn't the kind that whistled through the trees or tugged at the hems of skirts. It was a wind that whispered secrets in hushed tones and carried the scent of rain long before the storm clouds appeared. The elders called it the voice of the gods, warning that it could carry both fortune and ruin, and they'd cautioned the young ones to never make a deal with it. But Lyra, the village's young messenger, had always been drawn to it. She was a girl with restless eyes, quick feet, and dreams that reached beyond the fields and the mountains. Every day, she would stand at the edge of the forest where the wind picked up, listening to the breath of the world around her, the promise and mystery of it calling to her. It had never spoken to her directly, but she could sense it, could feel its currents playing against her skin. One evening, as the sky turned a bruised shade of purple, a strange wind swept down from the peaks of the northern mountains, carrying with it a chill that prickled Lyra's skin. She stood waiting, as the air around her grew thick, as if the world were holding its breath. A voice, deep and echoing, rose from the wind. It was neither man nor beast, but something in between, older than time itself. "You are willing to ask, are you not?" it whispered. Lyra's heart leapt. She took a step forward, the rush of the wind like the beat of a drum in her chest. "Who are you?" she whispered back, her voice trembling. "I am the wind, the one who binds the world together and tears it apart," it said. "And you, Lyra, are the one who listens. What is it you seek?" She felt the weight of her wish settle into her bones, an ache that she had carried for years. She wanted freedom, a life that didn't revolve around the narrow paths of the village and the tedious messages she delivered from one distant town to another. She wanted adventure, to see beyond the lands that bordered Liran, to find out what was waiting for her in the world. "I seek to travel far, to find places where the wind is more than a whisper. I want to know the secrets it carries," she said, her voice resolute. A gust, wild and wild-eyed, swept past her, tangling her dark hair and sending shivers down her spine. The voice, rich and textured as an ancient story, spoke again. "Then listen well, child. You shall have your wish. You will be free, for I will carry you wherever the wind blows. But know this, for every step you take on this journey, there is a price. You must give a piece of yourself with each new place you visit. Will you still accept my offer?" Lyra felt the earth shift beneath her, the weight of her decision pressing against her chest. She had only heard tales of what the wind could do, of people who'd ventured out into the unknown and returned changed, their eyes hollow and their spirits dulled. But this was the chance she had longed for, and she knew that some dreams had to be seized, no matter the cost. "Yes," she said, the wind caressing her cheeks as if in approval. The last thing she heard before the wind swept her away was a low, mournful laugh. And then, the world vanished. The next morning, Lyra awoke at the edge of the village, not a mile from the forest where she had stood the night before. But everything was different. The sky was painted with hues she had never seen, a symphony of colors that shimmered like 1,000 jewels. The wind spoke to her in a language that was hers alone, guiding her, pulling her forward. Lyra could feel herself unraveling and rebuilding with each step, her heart becoming lighter but her spirit dimming, as if something vital were slipping away. She traveled to places where the grass hummed underfoot and the rivers whispered secrets of the stars. She wandered through fields where the wind spoke of love and loss, of things that had been and would be again. She crossed deserts of burning sand that seemed to have no end, where the wind screamed at her, buffeting her with stories of endless solitude. And always, she felt herself paying the price of forgotten dream, a memory that slipped like sand through her fingers, a word that left her lips without the sound of its echo. Years passed in a blur. Lyra had become known as the girl who could speak to the wind, the traveler who knew the hidden paths and the songs of the sky. She could see the world as no one else could, but in the depths of her eyes, a shadow lurked. She was no longer the girl who had stood at the forest's edge. She was now something more and something less. One day, as she crossed the storm-swept seas, the wind carried a voice she had never heard before. It was human, full of urgency and pain. "Lyra, it is time to return," the voice called, piercing through the howling wind. She turned, seeing a figure on the shore, a man with eyes that looked like the endless sky. "Who are you?" she shouted against the storm. "I am the last piece you lost," he said, the wind tugging at his hair and robes. "I am who you used to be." The realization struck her like a bolt of lightning. She had given too much, and now there was no one left to return to the village of Liren. There was only the wind, a cruel, beautiful companion that had shown her the wonders of the world but left her with nothing to call her own.
"I want to come home," she whispered, but the wind didn't answer. It was as if the world held its breath, waiting for her to make the final choice. The voice in her ears, the voice she had been chasing all these years, whispered one last time, "Every step you take, a piece you give. Do you accept?" Lyra looked at the figure on the shore, the last piece of herself that was still whole. She reached out, but the wind swept it away, scattering it into a million whispers. The storm raged around her, but the pain was gone. Lyra stood alone, no longer just the girl who could listen to the wind, but something woven into it, a part of it, forever lost, forever free. The villagers in Liren would say that the wind grew stronger after that night, that it sang louder and wilder, as if mourning a loss they could never understand. But in the deep, uncharted places of the world, a voice still roams, carried on the currents, searching for the girl who once dared to dream too big and listened to the wind that offered freedom at the cost of everything.